Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I've got Joff, Health Coach Joff, here on the Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Welcome, Joff.
Hi, Dr. Charlton. How are you?
Very good. So, Joff is a rehabilitation nurse and he's also a coach, carnivore, coaching primarily nurses and whoever comes along. Is that right?
Yeah, so currently right now that is my target, I guess, niche where, I've got a program that's soon to be coming out when I can get everything together just to, help nurses with their metabolic health and get them started in, um, a lifestyle where they're no longer bouncing off diets. So that's really what my goal is with that program. So yeah,
Great. Well, welcome to my podcast. I went
thank
on
you.
your podcast maybe a couple of weeks ago, and that was
Yes.
thank you for inviting me.
No worries. No, it was my pleasure. And I'm excited to be here.
Great. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us about your journey. How did you start this journey? I've seen some photos that you've had quite a bit of a transformation.
Yeah, so my story. So first off, my name is Joff, not Jeff or Jeffrey, it's Joff. Uh, and I am a registered nurse and a primal health coach. So as Dr. Charlton mentioned, I practice in rehabilitation nursing, and I've been primarily working as a registered nurse in rehabilitation for quite some time, a couple of years. But I've worked in many areas within, the hospital setting, of course. And recently, I've taken on this venture to become I should be more official with my title, a primal health coach. So, um, my sort of story, if you want to put it that way, begins when I guess when life started to throw a curveball and presented itself with a medical problem, and that happened to me at the age of, I want to say, 17. Actually, I think I was 17, and I was out the gates from high school. I had just I've been studying to become a registered nurse. It was my first year, and one of the things that was required of me to practice and to work in the hospitals as a student nurse was to get a routine blood test. And I've never had that done before, so I thought, okay, this is a bit new. But to my shock, the doctors pulled me up to the office, uh, and it was only an incidental find. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. It was just what was required for me to go and practice, which was basically immunizations and immunity and whatnot. But incidentally, the GP told me that you've got to come in. There's some results that are alarming, and he told me that you've got very high cholesterol. Now, I wish I would have had an actual copy of this because I actually don't know what the cholesterol levels were, but he told me it was high, and I needed to do something about it. So, as you probably know, Dr. Charlton, it'll be a series of questions and assessments and talking about family history, and we went all through that, and I remember the doctor presenting me with two choices. It was number one, because of your history, your family history, we've got to treat it quite seriously. You're telling me that you've got heart disease pretty much all throughout your family, and that's not a good sign, especially with your cholesterol level this high. So let you can change your lifestyle, number one, or number two, if that doesn't work out, we can go on medications, on statins. And at this time, I had already known about cholesterol from what I've learned from university through, I guess the bioscience subjects that I was learning. So I said, okay, no, no, doc, I'll do it. I can live a healthy lifestyle. This is, I think I can do this. And so from then on, that's when the journey really began. When I just said, okay, I'm going to put myself into a gear where I will do everything in my best ability to lower my cholesterol and live a healthy life. Because I'd always been I wouldn't say an overweight child, but uh, I always struggled with weight issues. And I was also never fit. I was never active. I was quite sedentary, playing a lot of video games. And so I also signed up to my first ever gym membership. So it was uh, seeing a dietitian and going to the gym. I did those things, and I remember falling in love with one of the things. The gym to me is, that's another story of my life that I felt very passionate about. But with the diet front, I remember the dietitian telling me, they gave me a list of things to do, and I believe I still have that paper today. But it was essentially, eat a low fat diet, um, balanced meals, stock standard. Okay, cool. I followed that to the T, um, to the exact macronutrients that I needed to eat. I was doing the whole, plastic Tupperware containers, rice, because I'm Asian. Of course, I need to have rice, chicken, and vegetables. It was very regimented. And on top of that, like I said, I was falling in love with exercise and, looking muscular because, like I said, my whole life I was sedentary. I was struggling with weight issues. This was the first time I actually got to experience any sort of, confidence in how I looked. So that in combination of diet, I did that very consistently for the last, I would say, from my 20s up to my 30s. Except every year when I returned to the the clinic, every time I'd get my blood tests done, same results. High cholesterol, LDL. I didn't know about triglycerides. I didn't know about HDL. I didn't know what the ratios were, but all I was told was this is bleeping red in the sign here. You need to do something about it. Okay. So every time I keep coming back, I'm like, Doc, I'm doing it. I'm doing what you are, what has been told I should be doing. So I don't know what it is. And I remember probably 2 to 3 years down the track, there was one GP who said, look, this is likely genetic. So this is likely a genetic thing that you are eventually going to be on statins, which I didn't accept at the time because I thought, well, mate, I'm 22, 23. This can't be right. Like I can do something about this. So what did I do? I focused on what I loved more rather than diet. I'm like, obviously the diet's not working, but I'm feeling really good about going to the gym. So let's continue doing that. You know, got more, the more deeper and deeper I got into the gym, the more really I think my health started to get even worse because, it was more so focused on performance rather than trying to be healthy. I think the longer you stay in an environment where it promotes you to look good, look muscular, be strong, you kind of feel like, well, everything else is next, like, so it really became quite superficial. But I was feeling strong, I was feeling good. So I kept going with that. But and I let the diet slide a bit. I would go back and forth, back and forth to eating low fat, pretty much plant based, and I even went to a stage where I tried going vegan for about 2 months. It did not work out, but it's a story for another day. That will take too long. Um, and then it got to a point where physically, I could now start to see changes that I knew were pointing towards metabolic syndrome. So, blood pressure was the first one that I could remember. I remember, you know, um, feeling quite anxious every time I would take my blood pressure because it was like, oh, it is going to be above 140. And as life sort of progressed as a young man, transitioning into, having my own family, you know, getting into adulthood, basically, things started to pile up. I could no longer maintain my lifestyle that I used to, which was, exercise and whatnot. And so I fell back into sedentary patterns. My weight was already ballooning, and there was nothing I could do about it. So I just let it go. I became complacent. I was genetically, I kind of just said, I think this is what life has to offer to me. This is me. I just have to accept it, and whatever happens, happens. And so I just let go. I didn't have no controls for leading up to my 30s, and then it got to a point where high blood pressure started to become unmanageable. My blood pressure was around the 160s systolic every time, even at rest. So, I'm a nurse, so I, I check my blood pressure all the time. And um, I remember my first time I had actual chest pain. I thought, this is different. This sensation is something I'd never felt before in my life. I just felt like a whole huge weight was just pressing on my whole body. Like, when they say you feel like there's an elephant in your chest. Yeah, I kind of felt like it was like that with my whole body, though. I felt like just dropping to the ground. And a lot of these episodes were happening quite frequently, and I've had tests done, which thankfully, at that time, they didn't find anything, through the echocardiograms, the stress tests, Holter monitors. But the one thing that stuck out to me was that, I had heart murmur, which they couldn't pinpoint whether it was there before or whether it was genetic or whatnot. But the cardiologist at that time told me, this you're not we can't diagnose you with heart disease, but you're like right there. So I was started on beta blockers. I was started on cholesterol tablets. So I was taking statins already. I had severe joint pain as well. Mind you, I was 27, 28 at this time. So and I'd already been working as a nurse, so I know what these things are. I was on a lot of medications, basically, to manage a lot of things. And um, the physical health was one aspect that was really hard to deal with. So my mental health also took a huge turn, and I went down a spiral of anxiety, which I'd always been an anxious person. However, having anxiety and panic episodes is something completely different, and I think it's hard to explain, but it almost feels like my world was going to end at any moment. And it was at some moments, I just could not even leave the house. So my life was a living hell. There was not much I could really do about it. And I was, I'd come to a point where I'm just going to rely on whatever people tell me to do. I was not advocating for myself because I felt hopeless. I guess you could say that's depression. However, there was little bits in my life that was helping me cling on. Like I said, I've got a young family. I had my first born son, and then little bits of hope just tell me, maybe I should do this for my family. Like, I can't let them down. Um, and so one day after a nap, it was me and my son and my wife. Um, I had this weird feeling already for a couple of weeks that I was having trouble breathing. And so I asked my wife, can you just check on me, when I'm taking a nap, see what's happening? And I woke up from this nap. I looked at her. She was just like blank face. And she said, you kind of stop breathing sometimes. And so, you know, okay, now I've got sleep apnea. I can't get a break when I'm I can't get a break when I'm awake. I can't get a break when I'm asleep. What's next? And so there was this sense of frustration, anger, and I guess one day I just walked up to the mirror and I just remember looking at myself. I was disgusted for the first time in my life. I was never conscious about my body. I never really cared so much. It was just the way I felt that I wanted to improve. But when I saw myself in the mirror, thought, this is hideous. This is something that has festered for too long. I have to do something about it. And so uh, I made that decision to say, look, I'm going to do anything. I'll do anything in my willpower to change this because while I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I can see my wife and my son there. They need me. And so I basically started searching online for key things of what I needed to look out for. First off, how do I deal with this sleep apnea? What like I don't want to go into CPAP. I guess I'm stubborn. You can call me stubborn, but I did not want to go into CPAP. I wanted to see if there was another solution. And so one day a colleague of mine approached me at work and told me, "Hey, there's this video about sugar and low carb diets." Um, the documentary was called "Sugar: The Bitter Truth" by Dr. Robert Lustig. And I'll remember watching this. I was watching this on replay because the concept was interesting, but I could not fathom me giving up carbohydrates because I was always conditioned to believe that carbohydrates were an essential nutrient. So, okay, this is the first time I've heard sugar and inflammation paired together in one sort of sentence and being associated. So I put it on a back burner for now. And then, of course, I wanted to dig deeper, but then I thought, now let's just do it. I told myself I'm going to commit to something. So I did it. I went low carb. Couple of weeks later, I started to see changes. I started to lose weight. Um, I looked a bit better. Like I wouldn't say it was a drastic change, but I felt like I'd never experienced anything like this. And that completely debunked this whole mindset I had of all carbs are necessary for energy because I as a nurse you kind of need that energy buzz. So I went low carb, and the more and more I researched, the more these key speakers online kept popping up. Dr. Paul Mason, I talk about him a lot. He was the first one. I remember saying the word carnivore. I was like, carnivore? What is this meat only diet? And so I said, okay, let's look up carnivore. And then these carnivore doctors started coming up. Okay, you have medical professionals talking about this. Still a red flag, but you know, whatever. I could see people online as well saying that their stories are, uh, you know, we're seeing amazing things, but okay. Um, I'll keep doing what I'm doing until one day, uh, actually, my daughter was born, and I decided then and there that I was gonna try this carnivore diet because, well, why not? I mean, I'm already sort of, I was already there, really, because I remember the moment clearly. I took a step outside the hospital because I was a bit hungry, so I was going to get something to eat. And the the one thing that was close by was a burger place, and I would always order, a naked burger, which was just basically burger with no bun. I had that, but I'm like, no, I'll take out the lettuce, tomatoes, onions. This must be the carnivore diet. And I paid for like another 5 patties, which was like $50. So I spent so much money on that. And I had the meal and I think, this is not that bad. Okay. Let's list down the things I need to get rid out of to start a carnivore diet. And it really wasn't much because I'd already done the legwork during my low carb keto that, hey, it's not that hard to give this stuff up, so I'll give it a try. And I even forgot about my probation period because I was feeling so good within that first week. I'm like, I forgot about the scales. I forgot about weighing myself. I forgot about, doing these little things, tracking meals and whatnot. I didn't even document my experience very well because I was just this new euphoria just came in, and I guess you could call it uh, being ketosis for the first time or fat adapted, whatever it was. I did not care. I felt like Superman. So a couple of months down the track, I decided to weigh myself, and oh my gosh, I kid you not, I lost about it was probably about 30 kilos at this time, which was a lot. And I thought, man, okay, is there anything else I can do further? So I started to add back exercise into my diet, and I lost a further 10 kilos. So in total, it was about 40 kilos I lost. Now that's within the span of a year. Other things I experienced, the mental clarity and the energy hit I already talked about, that was out of this world. But the cardiovascular disease symptoms that sort of that had plagued me for a long time, they all disappeared, all gone. I had not experienced any chest pain nor any shortness of breath. My blood pressure, I checked it, it was the lowest I've ever seen. It was like in the 110s. So uh, I don't know. It seems like a bit of a miracle to me, Dr. Charlton. It was miraculous. And so I feel, I guess, to sort of wrap things up, I felt compelled to go on social media and tell people about it with my eyes closed because I'm like, ugh, what are people going to think of this meat eating guy? And to my surprise, it was so positive. I actually didn't expect it. People were congratulating, curious, and yeah, from that moment on, I've been on this, I guess, journey to, I guess, help other people and just share the word. Because the carnivore diet helped me. It's transformed my life, and I think if someone can resonate with my story, and maybe it might help them too. Who knows? That's why I'm here in social media.
Wow, wow, that's so amazing. That's an amazing journey. You went from an overweight nurse, and you were a nurse, you're following all the advice that the doctors were giving you,
I
and
was.
you still didn't work out. You still had sleep apnea, shortness of breath, chest pains, depression, and weight keep piling on.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of, I mean, I had a lot of issues as well. It wasn't just, I'm summarizing things in a nutshell, but honestly, like, there was just too many things in life that was happening at once as well. I mean, you look at the life of a nurse, the shift work that takes a toll on your circadian rhythm because
Yeah.
of doing the night shifts.
Mm,
And so that played a huge part, I believe, too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. And then now, do you feel like it's all very different? You feel like a brand new person?
4 years later, Avi, I still feel the same. Nothing's really changed in terms of how I feel. My diet has remained the same pretty much consistently. Of course, I'm like any human. I have slip ups, and some days I will have rice. Some days I will have,
Hmm.
something out of the ordinary. But for the most part, it got better as time progressed.
Yeah.
Um, I also didn't mention I had issues with alcohol. That's probably another topic for another
Uh,
day, but that too. So yeah, things progressively got better. It was never like you know, uh, this is where it started. It was perfect from then on.
mhm.
Till now, I'm still, obviously still trying to um, learn and find out what works best for me.
Great. Amazing. But you lost 40 kilos
Correct.
and a bit more energy and feeling much better in yourself. Mental clarity.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
And you feel
Yeah.
like Superman.
Oh, every day. I feel like Superman. Yes.
So much more
Yes.
energy and you work a bit better and you're here to
Yeah,
spread the word.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's made me such a, like, if I were to just relate it to nurses, like fatigue is such a huge, huge issue for people who
Mm,
do shift work. And
yeah.
the stresses that are happening around a nurse can really bring your energy down to a point where sometimes you just have to call in sick because you
Mm,
are so exhausted from everything.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the physical work, but this the mental exhaustion as well. The This journey that took me from being a heavy carb eater to pretty much not eating carbs has
Mm,
given me the most energy I've ever felt in my life. So, um,
wow.
yeah, just throwing it out there, people. I think
Amazing.
it's a real thing.
And then you're coaching a lot of nurses and helping them through the journey. Is that what you've seen with your coaching journey as well?
Yeah, yeah. So I've coached a lot of people, um, nurses, people with busy lives, really. And, a lot of people report the same things. Like the weight loss is great. And you know, feeling good every day is another thing. But having that on a consistent basis where, I've had clients that have improved even like the little things in their life, like their day-to-day interactions, or they deal with stress a little bit better. They didn't growl at a colleague, or they didn't, get home and
Mm,
started snapping at their partners and whatnot. Like the little things in life that really changed because of, swapping a few things out of your diet, I think it's a powerful tool, and that's why I really like your message about prescribing lifestyle. I also want to put out there that not all my clients have gone carnivore as well. It's not a one size fits all approach. I
mhm.
think we have to come to our own uh, what works best for us. And
Yep.
some of my clients have gone carnivore, some of them haven't. And honestly, um, as long as you're making changes with your lifestyle that suits you,
Yep.
that's what matters, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I love it. And I just want to touch on you keep
Mm.
exploring, you're trying other things, and recently, the
Yes.
last few days, you
Yes.
are doing an ice bath or ice shower challenge. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I think, look, since this journey, I've always been curious about, well, if I can control other things in life, I wonder, well, how much better it would be. So it started off with grounding and, doing obviously blocking out the blue
Blue light
light.
glasses, yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so I heard about cold exposure, and the benefits of it on a not so much in a muscle recovery, but a cellular level. Someone was
Mm,
talking about it online. I thought this is something. This might be along the lines of the avenue that I'm looking for, because I promote lifestyle changes too. So let's see
yeah.
what cold exposure does. So I reached out to a friend of mine
Mm,
who specializes in cold exposure and breath work as well.
mhm.
And so I thought, let's just give this a go, give this a try. And I've only been doing it for, I would say, 10 days, because
Oh,
I had to do some prep
that's all right.
work. I had to
Okay.
do some prep work to get me
Yeah.
to doing cold showers. So
Oh, okay.
when I started off, it was like 5 seconds in the water. Now I'm doing full cold showers in the middle of
Wow.
winter.
You're in Brisbane though. We're in
I
Melbourne.
know, I know. I can't, really whinge about it because, but I feel like what I've experienced so far is a sense of when you get this cold feeling, you get your muscles tense up,
Mhm.
but after you get out, you put your towel on. Oh my gosh, that's the relax. You just feel like you feel so relaxed. And I've noticed as well every time, because I take a photo of myself and show myself on Instagram. I noticed my skin is starting to get, I don't know, maybe it's just what I'm noticing or what I'm
Yeah.
seeing, but it's just my skin is feeling a bit more smoother. I've got a bit of a glow. So I
Okay.
don't know. I'm seeing some things, and I'm enjoying it so far.
That's great. I must admit that it's so cold here. It was 1 degree this morning. I'm taking a
Oh,
break from cold bath and cold shower. I think maybe until the spring comes back.
maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing that you're doing it every day, 10 days. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so far. So far.
Yeah. So a
Yeah.
bit more energy after the cold shower and cold bath.
I actually feel the opposite. I feel more relaxed. So I've actually been doing the cold. I'm going to do one now after this, actually. I do it at nighttime because I don't know. I just did it once at night, and I thought this is the most relaxing thing after, getting into bed, snuggling into bed, and just resting. And I feel when I wake up, I'm a little bit more rested. So I don't know,
Mhm.
maybe actually I need to do more research into it. Really, I need
Yeah.
to do it a bit more.
Okay. Well, that's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're frozen at the moment on the screen, but that's okay.
yeah, yeah. It's frozen here too. Yeah,
All right. Well, that is amazing. Where can people find you, Joff?
yeah. So I'm mostly on Instagram nowadays, and
Yeah.
I'm also on YouTube and on Facebook. Now I'm very easy to find. It's just Health Coach Joff, Joff, and I also have a website, healthcoachjoff.com.au. I think that's all. I think that's where most people can find me.
No problem. I will put all the links into the show notes and so people can find you. And then is it only nurses that you coach or do you coach other people as well?
No, not no. No, I coach anyone basically. I think the program that I'll have is specific for nurses. But I'd also do one-to-one coaching for anyone
Mm,
that wants to start going down low carb, keto, or carnivore. That's always on offer. But this one it's this program for nurses. It's an ebook, and it's a 12-week program. It's called the Primal Nurse Initiative.
okay.
Um, I've made it in a way that is easy to follow. It's self-guided, which is perfect for nurses because number one, they're very independent people,
Mm,
but also it's a it's a busy schedule, and sometimes you need just a bit of a guide to follow. And so that should be coming out, I hope, sometime this month. But yes, watch this space.
great. And your podcast is called Meet with
Ah, yes.
Mates?
Steaks with mates.
Steaks with Mates. Oh, it's close enough.
Close enough, yes. Yeah, so I have a podcast as well, which has been going very well. I think it's something that I've also enjoyed, another passion project of mine, to connect with like-minded individuals and to share our conversations. So that is also on my YouTube channel at Health Coach Joff. But I will get my act together and actually get these out on podcast platforms like Spotify and iTunes. This was just a little bit of an experiment, just to have fun. But I've been enjoying it so much that I think I've got enough requests for people to say, hey, can I listen to this in the car? Put it
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
So I will
yeah.
do that.
Yeah, the thing is YouTube's got ads and it breaks
Yeah.
it up and you can't listen in the car, you can't listen when you go
Yeah.
running because you touch it and
Yeah.
then it disappears and ad comes on.
Yeah. Yes, yes. So I promise for the viewers of my podcast, I will get it on those platforms very soon.
Great. Well done, Joff. That is amazing. I love your journey, I love your story. I love how you have changed your life around.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to, have this discussion, and I'm very grateful that we've connected.
Yes, amazing. Thank you. Well, thank you, Joff, for coming on to the Prescribing Lifestyle podcast.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, all the listeners, for listening to another episode. And as I always say, if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. Until next time, I will bring to you another amazing guest. Thank you for staying tuned.